Welcome to a tutorial showing you how to perform year-to-date calculations in Excel. You can create calculations such as add and subtract using dates if Excel recognizes your data as a date. You can make sure that your formula is always up to date using the today function, and you can work out how many working days there are between 2 days using the network days function. The first thing I'll do is work out the due date of these invoices. So in the cell D8, I'll start my formula equals the invoice date plus the cell that has 60, B3. As I wish to use this cell in all the formulas, I need to absolute, so I'll just press F4 on my keyboard, and I'll use a tick next to the formula bar to accept my formula, and I'll autofill to the bottom. Now I'd like to work out if any of these invoices are outstanding, so I'm going to move into the cell B2 and enter the formula equals today, open bracket, close bracket, and press enter. This will put the current date today. If I open this worksheet tomorrow, it will say the 30th of September, and the next day the 1st of October, and so forth. So if I base my calculation on that cell, my calculation will always be up to date. Now I'll move to cell E8 and work out how many days outstanding these invoices are. So I'll start with an equals. I'll take the cell with today's date in, B2. I need to absolute it, and then I'll subtract the due date, D8. This time I'm going to press Ctrl Enter. You can see this invoice is 26 days outstanding, and now I'll just fill the formula down to the bottom. I'm double clicking on the autofill marker. The figures with a minus are not outstanding. If I'd like to be more accurate, I can even work out how many working days outstanding. So if I go into the cell F8, I'll find the formula network days. I'll go via the formula bar, and in the function library I'll click on date and time. There are loads of date and time formulas you can work with. I'm going to choose network days. My start date is my due date, and the end date is the current date, which I must absolute. And as I have a list of bank holidays on the side of my document, I can include them in my formula to make it more accurate. So I highlight my range of holidays, absolute these also, and click OK. And then I'll fill down for the rest. Now you can see the difference in days outstanding and the working days outstanding, as these take into account the bank holidays and Saturdays and Sundays. In this tutorial, we've had a look at performing year-to-date calculations in Excel using simple calculations, the today function, and the network day function. Welcome to a tutorial looking at linking cells in worksheets and other workbooks. If cells are linked across worksheets, they will automatically be updated when the original cell is edited. The first thing I'll do is link a cell in the same worksheet. So I'll type an equals in H2, then go and find the cell I'd like to link to. Click on the cell and press enter. You can see the contents of the cell are equal to B42. I'll just undo using Ctrl Z and show you another way that you can link. You can link by using copy and paste. So find the cell you'd like to link. I'll do Ctrl C to copy. I'll move to the cell I'd like to paste to, and I can either right click and find the paste option that's link. It's the one with the chain link here. I'll undo again and show you how to do it from the paste button. We choose the drop down button, and again you'll see the one with the chain link at the bottom. Now if we look at the formula, it's absoluted the reference to B42. If I change any of the figures in column B, they will automatically be reflected in H2 as well. So let's make some alterations. I'll make this one 25,000 and this one 40,000. 40,000. Now we'll link to another cell in the same workbook but on a different sheet. I'll type equals, move to the sheet. I'm interested in the VAT. Click on the cell and press enter. Now if we look at the formula, it's got invoices with an exclamation mark, that's the reference to the sheet name, and linking to the cell 42. I'll just format that to currency because it looks a little strange. And again, if I update the figures on the other sheet, it will automatically reflect on this sheet. Now to link to a different workbook entirely. In H4 I'll type equals again. Now I need to find the workbook that I'd like to link to. I'll go to View and switch to this invoices for last year. Click on the cell and press enter. Now if we look in the formula bar, we have the name of the document in square brackets, the name of the sheet as before, and an absolute reference to B2. So now I'm going to close both of the workbooks and see what happens when I try to open again. I received a warning to let me know that there's a link in this document and do I trust it? Well, as I created the link myself, I do, so I'll just click on Update. If you would like to break the link at any time, you can go to the Data tab on the ribbon, click on Edit Links, find the link in question, and break it. Now the cell is just a normal cell. Welcome to a tutorial showing you how to use the if function to determine actions based on the outcome of a certain criteria. The if function is a logical function, and if put into simple terms, it asks a question of your data, then returns a value if the answer to your question is yes, and returns a different value if the answer is no. You'll find the if function either via the insert function by the formula bar, or on the insert function on the formulas tab, or in the logical category. On this spreadsheet, I'd like to work out if all these guys have reached their target. The target is 100,000. So I'm going to use an if to help me. There are three parts to this function argument. The first is known as the logical test. This is where I ask my question. Are the sales this year greater than or equal to? I can write 100,000 directly into this box, or I can use the cell M1. I'll absolute that so it stays when I fill my formula. I'll click into the second box of the argument box to tell Excel what I'd like to happen if the answer is true. I'm just going to write yes. Then click into the third box, and this is for what happens when the answer is false. I just like to type a no. You'll notice that the yes has speech marks, and when I click OK, so will the no if you look in the formula bar. That's because I was using the insert function box, which means it automatically detects text and puts a speech box for me. If you're going to write the formula yourself, you must remember to add the speech marks yourself. Now I'm going to fill the formula down, click in the block in the corner and double click. We'll do another if now, and this time we'll do a formula inside the if. So I'll click into J2. I want to work out a target for these guys for next year, based on their results for this year. If they did well and they reached their target, they'll only have to get 2% more. If they didn't reach the target this year, they've got to aim for 5% more. But this time I'll use the insert function. So are the sales this year greater than or equal to M1 absolute? If it's true, they'll take their current year and we'll multiply by 102%. If it's not true, they have to make more effort and take this year multiplied by 105%. I made it 102 and 105 so that we add the figures on top. Click OK and fill the rest. If the target changes and they have to reach 1100,000, All I have to do is edit the cell M1 and every single formula is updated. In this tutorial, we've had a look at the if function to return a value if true or false when based on certain criteria. We used text and we used a formula inside the function. Welcome to a tutorial showing you how to use the SUMIF function to calculate totals based on criteria. The SUMIF function is a great way to summarize your data for easy reference. You'll find SUMIF on the Formulas tab on the ribbon in the Math and Trig category. You'll also find it on the Insert function. The first thing I'd like this formula to help me with is to work out the total sales by gender. The first part of the dialog box is looking for a range, and this refers to where I'll find the male or female. I'll start in D2, I'll use Ctrl-Shift down to jump to the bottom, then move into the second box for the criteria. Here I'll type an F for the females, and then the area to add up is the total sales, which will be H2 down. Again, I'm using Ctrl-Shift down, and click OK. You'll notice if you look in the formula bar that the F has had speech marks added. That's because it's detected that this is text. Same formula again for males. This time I'll go to the Insert function, and if I change the category to Most Recently Used, SUMIF will be at the top. Exactly the same formula again, except looking for the males. This time I'll do it in a slightly different way. Instead of highlighting a range, I'll take the whole column, and I'll look for M, and when it's found the M's, it can add up the corresponding figures in column H, and click OK. So this time I refer to a whole column rather than a specific range. To work out the totals by location, I'll use SUMIF again, but in a slightly different way. So I'll click into M10, Insert function, SUMIF. I need to think, where will I find London? It's in this location column, so I'll start in G2, Ctrl-Shift down, but this time I'll absolute using F4. The criteria, instead of typing London, I'll use the cell that's got London, L10, and then add up the range in H2 down. Absoluted. Click OK. Now I can fill down this formula to look for Zurich, Brussels and Paris. The ranges have stayed static, but the criteria to find has moved down to L11, L12 and L13. In this tutorial, we've had a look at SUMIF. We've used text, we've used absolute ranges, and we've used whole columns. Welcome to a tutorial showing you how to create a multiple if statement to compare sales against 3 or more criterion. This means that if you have at least 3 possible outcomes, a normal if statement is not enough. You can have up to 64 if functions nested inside one statement. If you only have 2 possible outcomes, you only need 1. On this spreadsheet, I'd like to work out a percentage bonus to be awarded to these guys. If their sales were at least 120,000, they'll receive 5%. If they made at least 100,000, they'll get 3%, otherwise they'll get 2%. So I have 3 possible outcomes, 5, 3 or 2%. So I'm going to start with a normal if. You can find if on the Formulas tab on the ribbon, underneath Logical, or you can find it on the Insert function next to the formula bar. This normally takes you to the most recently used. At the moment I'm in Logical, and I'm going to choose if. Click OK. So the function argument box is opened, ready for me to start working. I wish to compare the sales this year, that's H2. Is it greater than or equal to 120,000? I can write 120,000 or I can use a cell. I'll use a cell because I have it typed already. I need to absolute. I'm going to use F4 so that when I fill this formula down for the rest of the guys, this cell won't move. If the value is true, they'll get 5%. Again, I need to absolute. F4. If they haven't made the grade, I need to click into the false box and I need to create a new if. So I'm going to move my mouse up to the name box. At the moment you can see it says J2. When I move my mouse it will turn into an if. Click once here. The dialog box is emptied, but if you look in the formula bar, I'm now in my second if. So I compare the same cell. Is H2 greater than or equal to 100,000? Absolute. If it is, he'll get 3%, absolute, and if not, he'll get 2%. So have a look at the formula bar. The formula starts with equals if and an open bracket. I have the first statement, and halfway through you see the next if with the next statement. At the end of the formula there's two brackets to complete both ifs. Now I'll click OK and drag the formula down. I'm going to double click on the little green block. Now if I change any of these award values, they'll automatically be reflected in column J. So those that didn't make the grade are actually only going to get 1%. In this tutorial, we've had a look at creating a nested if statement in Excel. Welcome to a tutorial showing you how to embed the AND function into an if statement to compare cells against more than one criterion. On this spreadsheet, I'd like to work out what bonus award my team will get based on their sales and their years of service. If they reached at least 120,000 and they've stayed with the company for at least 10 years, they'll receive 5%. Otherwise, they'll receive 3%. So there are two possible outcomes and they need to reach two targets to get to the highest award. I'll start with an if because there are two possible outcomes. You can find if either on the Formulas tab on the ribbon, if you click on Logical and then if, or you'll find it on the Insert function next to the formula bar. So my if is ready for me to start working, but I need to switch to an AND to check if both targets have been reached. So I'm going to go to the drop down button on the name box, and luckily for me I can see an AND. If you can't see an AND when you try to do this, you need to go to more functions and find it. But I'll click on AND. If you look at the formula bar you'll see it starts with an if, but I'm now gone into an AND. I can ask up to 255 conditions, but we've only got two to work out. First of all, the sales. Are they greater than or equal to 120,000? So I'll take H2, is it greater than or equal to 120,000? And is their service, I2, greater than or equal to 10? You'll notice that Logical 3 is opened, but as I've only got two questions, I can come back to the if now. So I go to the formula bar, touch the if inside the formula, and now I'm back to my if box. If it's true, they'll get 5%. I'll use the cell that's got 5% and I'll absolute using F4 so that when I fill the formula down, it won't move. And if they didn't make both criteria, they'll get 3%. That's M5. And again, I must absolute. Now I'll click OK. And I'll fill the formula down using the green block in the bottom corner. I'll double click here. All I need to do now is format the cell into a percentage. So I'll come back to Home and click on the % button. Have a look at the formula in the formula bar. It reads equals if, open bracket, and, open bracket, then my two questions about the targets, comma, what happens if it's true, comma, what happens if it's false. If I want, I could change this formula by making the targets absolute as well. So instead of writing 120,000, I could use this cell where I've written 120,000 and absolute. And I can change the 10 to the cell that's got 10, absolute. Tick to finish the formula and fill it down again. I can say if they only have to reach 100,000, and they only have to have worked for 5 years. Now most of my team are getting a great award. In this tutorial, we've had a look at embedding an AND function. Welcome to a tutorial showing you how to embed the OR function into an if statement to compare sales against more than one criterion. On this spreadsheet, I'd like to work out what bonus award my team will get based on their sales this year and last year and their years of service. If they've reached at least 110,000 last year, or 120,000 this year, or they've stayed with the company for at least 15 years, they'll get a 5% bonus, otherwise 3%. So there are two possible outcomes, and they need to reach any of the targets to get the highest award. I'll start with an if, because there are two possible outcomes. You'll find if either on the Formulas tab on the ribbon, under Logical, or you can use the Insert function next to the formula bar, and locate it here, and click OK. My if is ready for me to start working, but I need to switch to an OR to check if either target has been reached. If you look just underneath the ribbon, the name box, and click on the drop down, you might be lucky and see OR there. If you can't, you need to go to More Functions and search for it. An OR works just like an AND. You can have up to 255 questions. Luckily, we've only got 3 in this formula. Now look at the formula bar. It starts equals if, open bracket, and then it's turned into an OR. So my first question, was last year's sales greater than 110,000? Or was this year's sales greater than 120,000? And finally, was their years of service greater than 15? Notice that the box is expanded and I'm now in Logical 3 and you can see Logical 4. Now I need to go back to the if part of the formula, so I'll click in the formula bar and make sure I touch the if. And you can see I'm back in the if functions argument, so I'll click into the true box. If any of those criteria have been met, they will get 5%, so I'm going to use the cell N4 and absolute it. I'll use F4 to do that. And if they don't meet any of those criteria, they'll get 3%. I'll use N5 and absolute it, and click OK. Now I've filled the formula down to the rest of the cells using the autofill, and I'll double click here. Now all I need to do is format the cells into a percentage, so I'll go to Home and click %. I can make this whole formula an absolute formula if I want to, by changing the targets to absolute versions as well. So if I go back to my first formula, instead of writing is I2 greater than 110,000, I can change it to the cell where I've written 110,000. That's N9 and absolute. Instead of 120,000, use the cell again, absolute. And instead of 15, I'll use a cell, and absolute. I'll use a tick to finish the formula this time, and fill the formula down again. This means I can change the targets easier. So for instance, if last year they had to reach 120,000, and this year they have to reach 120,500, and they only have to reach 5 years of service, it's easy to amend and update. In this tutorial, we've had a look at embedding an OR function into an if statement. Welcome to a tutorial showing you how to use a VLOOKUP function in Excel. The V in the lookup stands for vertical. A VLOOKUP helps you find items in a data range to find an exact match or an approximate match. There are a couple of rules to follow though. The value you're looking for must be unique, therefore must not appear on the lookup table more than once, and the value you're looking for needs to be in the first column of the lookup table. If the values in the first column of your lookup table are numbers, it helps to have the numbers listed in numerical order. On this worksheet, I'm looking for a couple of IDs. I'll find the information on the sheet behind on sales targets. I'm looking for their name, and I'm looking for their target for next year. So I'm going to use the VLOOKUP formula to help me. You'll find VLOOKUP on the Formulas tab on the ribbon under Lookup and Reference. There are 4 parts of a VLOOKUP to complete. The first part, Lookup Value, is asking you what are you looking for. I'm looking for this ID number, which happens to be cell A4. The second part is asking where are you going to find it. I'm going to find it on the sheet behind in this table, so I need to highlight the whole table. I'll use Ctrl A, and I'm going to have to absolute this, and I'll do that by pressing F4. The third part of the formula is looking for a column index number. I happen to be looking for the name. Let me just check where that is. You can see it's in column C, but I don't enter column C, I enter the number 3, because it's the third column of the lookup table. The last part of the formula is looking for either true or false. If I leave this empty, it will assume I need true. Most commonly, we have false here because we're looking for an exact match. You can type false or you can type a 0. Click OK. I'll just fill this down for the other IDs I'm looking for. If you want to check that it's got it right, I'll just search for this code. I'll copy that. I'll switch to the sheet behind and use the Find feature, Ctrl F, paste the value I'm looking for, and find. Let's see, is it Saoirse? Yes, it is. Come back to my summary sheet. I now want to find the target, so I'll do another VLOOKUP, but this time I'll go via the Insert function. You can go to Most Recently Used, and you'll find it at the top of the list. So I'm looking for the same value, in the same place. If I had given this table a range name, I could enter that range now. But I'm going to highlight the table, Ctrl A, Absolute, F4. Before I go back to my formula, I just want to count which column it is. So it's column J, and that's the 10th column, so I'm just going to type 10. And the lookup value is false, meaning an exact match. Click OK, and fill it down. To try to help you understand the true and false bit, I'm just going to edit this first ID. So I've clearly got an error. It's telling me I can't find that ID number on the table. But if I change the formula to true instead of false, I'll change this last 0 to a 1. It's found Taylor. That's because the closest number beneath the number it looked for was Taylor. In this tutorial, we've had a look at the VLOOKUP function. Always be careful, are you looking for an exact match or an approximate match? Welcome to a tutorial showing you how to use the HLOOKUP function in Excel. A HLOOKUP is a horizontal lookup function. It helps you find items in a data range to find an exact match or an approximate match. There are a couple of rules to follow though. The value you're looking for must be unique, therefore must not appear on the lookup table more than once, and the value you're looking for needs to be in the first row of the lookup table. If the values in the first row of your lookup table are numbers, it helps to have the numbers listed in numerical order. In this worksheet, I'm trying to work out what awards my team will get depending upon their years of loyal service and what sales they achieved this year. I'm going to use a HLOOKUP formula to help me. You'll find HLOOKUP in the Formulas tab under Lookup and Reference. Just like a VLOOKUP, a HLOOKUP has 4 parts to complete. The only difference is you're looking for a row rather than a column. So the first part of the formula is asking, what are you looking for? I'm looking for the years of service. That's D2. The second part, table array, is asking, where are you going to look for it? I look for it on this table over here. So I select the whole table and I need to absolute it. I'll do that with an F4. The third part is asking, which row would you like me to bring back when I find the thing you're looking for? I've only got 2 choices, 1 or 2. I'm looking for the second row, so I'll type a 2. The last part of the box is looking for either true or false. Most commonly you see false here for an exact match, so I'll just do that and see what happens. You can also write a 0 rather than false, and I'll click OK. So far so good. Now let me fill the formula down using autofill. I'll double click here. Seems I have some errors. The first one that's not applicable, the person has done 6 years service. They should at least be getting a 3% rather than nothing. This guy's done 15 years and should be getting 5%. That's because there's not a 15 on the lookup table. This formula should have been true for an approximate match, where the formula looks for the closest number beneath it. I'll edit this first formula and change it to true. You could also type a 1. I'll click the tick to finish and fill it down again. The only people who have a problem now is Jeff and Peter. That's because they haven't reached the grade of at least 2 years. We'll try this again now to work out what target award these guys will get. So this time I'll do a HLOOKUP using the insert function. You can move to most recently used and you'll find it at the top of the list. This time I'm looking for the sales this year. That's E2. In the place over here, if I gave this table a name, I could enter the range name now, Absolute. I need to bring back the award, which is in the second row, so I type 2, and this time I know I need to put true, but I'll put a 1. Click OK and fill it down. In this tutorial, we've had a look at the HLOOKUP function. Always be careful, are you looking for an exact match or an approximate match? Welcome to a tutorial showing you how to use hyperlinks in Excel. A hyperlink is an electronic link that will take you to either another document, another sheet in the same workbook, directly to a web page or an email address, or to a new document entirely. When you click on the hyperlink, you'll jump immediately to the place where the hyperlink points to. You can use a cell in your workbook to start your hyperlink, or you can use an object such as a picture. To insert a hyperlink, click where you'd like to create it, and then from the Insert tab on the ribbon, choose Hyperlink. From the dialog box, you have 4 options on the left. The first hyperlink I'd like to show you is how to jump to an existing file, so that's the first choice. Locate the file you'd like to link to. You might find it on the list of previous documents, or you might have to search for it using the Browse or the Move a level up. I can see the one I want, it's Invoices. I click once. At the top of the screen, where it says Text to Display, you can edit that if you wish, but I'll leave mine as Annual Awards, and you can enter a screen tip if you like. Click OK, and OK again. Now you'll notice the text has changed, it's blue and it's underlined. It's also got smaller. I'll just increase it a little. If I move my mouse over the text, you'll see my mouse turns into a hand, and the message appears. Click here to look at the current invoices. When I click there, the other document will open. I'll just close again to get back to my original document. To remove a hyperlink, you can right click on top and choose Remove Hyperlink. My formatting's gone again, but that's okay, I can sort that later. I'll show you another hyperlink now, but this time I'll use Ctrl K on my keyboard. Same dialog box is opened, but I like to link to a place in the same workbook. The panel in the middle will show you any sheets you have available in your document to link to. If you have any range names created, they'll also be listed. So I'm going to link to Conference and click OK. Because I didn't create a screen tip, when I move my mouse over the hyperlink, you don't get a very nice message, but it still works. Now I've jumped to my conference sheet, and I'll just turn back to my service awards. I'm going to right click on top of that picture on the side, and here you can also choose a hyperlink. This time I'd like to link to an existing web page. Going to click into the web address and type the address immediately. I will give a screen tip and click OK and OK again. Now when I hover my mouse over the picture, you get the hyperlink hand and the message click here to open our home page. Let's see if it works. There we go. I'll just close it to return to my document. If you wish to edit a hyperlink, right click on top of the hyperlink and choose Edit. I've just added a better screen tip. In this tutorial, you've seen how to create hyperlinks in Excel. Welcome to a tutorial showing you how to create a template in Excel. If you create your own template, you could save a lot of time in future. You can put all the main information into your workbook, including formatting and formulas, and they'll be stored for future use. The workbook on my screen is a typical example of a workbook that would be useful to be saved as a template. This document contains formulas that flow from one month to the other. There is also various types of formatting applied, and the page setup and header and footer have been set up exactly how I want them. To save a document as a template, click on File, then Save As. You can also use F12 on your keyboard. Then before you even decide where to store it, you can let Excel know this is going to be a template by clicking on the drop-down button next to the Save button. Choose the type of template you'd like to create. Normally it's an Excel template with the extension XLTX. As soon as I click here, Excel will immediately suggest I store it in the Custom Office Templates. If you allow Excel to store it here, it will be easier to find later on. Give your document a suitable name and click Save. If you'd rather not store it in the Custom Office Templates, you just need to locate where you would like to store it. But I'm happy with this and I'll click Save. I'm going to close this document down now. Imagine I'm ready to use this template next year. To find it again, all I need to do is go to File and then click on New. If you have created your own templates, you'll have two choices. You'll see Featured and Personal. Featured gives you a lot of templates that have previously been designed for you. To get your own, you click on Personal. And then to use your template, you just have to click on it. And here it is. It's now called Mileage 1, and it's just a normal workbook, ready for me to work on as I wish and save to whatever name I like. So in this tutorial, you've seen how to create a personal template in Excel. In this tutorial, we'll have a look at the type of charts available in Excel 2016. Charts are a great way to visually analyze your data, instead of having to study the numbers, and the 2016 version has some new charts, that is, Tree Map, Sunburst, Histogram, Box and Whisker, Waterfall and Funnel. To create a chart, just highlight the data you'd like to use. I'll use Ctrl-A, then from the Insert tab on the ribbon, locate the Charts group and click on the chart you'd like to create. When you hover your mouse over the chart types, Excel will give you a brief description, and just click on the one you'd like to use. I'll start with the basic column chart. Here you can see I can choose a 2D or 3D, and I've also got bars. As soon as you create your chart, you'll have two tabs on the ribbon, Design and Format. Towards the end of the Design tab, you'll find Change Chart Type. So it doesn't matter what kind of chart you started with, you can easily change it. First of all, I'll show you recommended charts. Depending upon the kind of data you highlighted, Excel will have some great suggestions for you. For instance, here I have a line chart. And again, Excel offers a brief description. If you don't like the look of any of these charts, just go to All Charts, and here you'll see all the types of charts available. So we have line charts, which are good for displaying data trends. Pies and donuts are useful for one series of data, and bars, just like columns, are great for data arranged in columns or rows. Area charts are useful for displaying the relationship of parts against a whole or against categories. You could try an XY scatter or bubble chart, stock, surface or radar, and then we have the new types of charts, tree map, sunburst, etc. At the bottom of the list, you'll find combo, which will help you display mixed types of data. For example, you might want to display some of your data in columns and other data by a line. Depending upon your data, some of the chart types will not be appropriate, but you can always try, and if you don't like it, try something else. I'm just going to switch to a line with markers and click OK. In this tutorial, we've had an overview of the kind of charts available in Excel. Charts will be covered in more detail in other tutorials. In this tutorial, we'll look at how to insert a chart into an Excel spreadsheet and how to use preset styles and formatting to customize the chart. Before you create a chart, make sure your data is constructed well, without gaps and repeated headings. To create a chart, highlight the data you'd like to use. If it's your whole table, you don't need to highlight, just have your mouse inside the data, Then from the Insert tab on the ribbon, you'll find the Charts group. There are many styles to choose from. The first thing I'll do is choose Recommended Charts. Depending on the type of data you've highlighted, Excel will offer some suggestions. Click on the one you like and click OK. When you've created your new chart, you'll have two new tabs in the ribbon, Design and Format. To quickly change the chart style, click on the More button in the Chart Styles group and choose from the styles listed. Towards the right of the ribbon, you'll see Change Chart Type. So it doesn't matter how you started, you can easily change it. Click on any style. I'll choose Area and click OK. To change the colour scheme, click on Change Colours. Hover your mouse to get a preview of how it's going to look. To apply a quick layout, use the Quick Layout button. Here you'll find some interesting styles, and again hover your mouse to get a preview of how it will look. If you've selected a layout that includes a chart title or an axis title, just click into the box and type over what's in there. If you'd like to move your chart to a sheet of its own or into another existing worksheet, click on Move Charts at the right of the ribbon. You'll find a drop-down button against Object In, and you can choose which sheet to move it to, or you can click on New Sheet and give your chart a new name if you like, and click OK. When you click into a chart, there are three buttons available. There's a plus, and here you can add things like a data table. Again, hover your mouse to get a look before you choose. There's a Format button to help you recolor, and there's a Filter button. I'm going to move back to my original data and just show you a quick shortcut. I'm going to highlight just the months, and I'd like to create a chart showing only the average low. So holding the Control key, I'll highlight the data I need. So instead of a whole table, I'm just using 2 lines. Then press F11 on my keyboard. This will create a standard column chart on a new worksheet, and I'll just change it into a pie. Alt F1 is another shortcut key that you can use to insert a chart into the sheet you're working in. In this tutorial, we've had a look at creating a basic chart in Excel. In this tutorial, we'll look at how to format a chart in an Excel spreadsheet using preset styles and customizing the chart to meet your requirements. I have a chart on my screen showing the average temperature in UK taken from several years of data. When you click on a chart, you have 2 extra tabs in the ribbon, Design and Format. You'll also find 3 buttons against your chart. There's a plus to help you add chart elements such as a data table. There's a Formatting button to help you recolor it, and there's a Filter button. The Design tab itself also has an Add a Chart element, and next to that you'll find Quick Layout. Depending on which kind of chart you've chosen, you'll have several to choose from. To change the color scheme, click on Change Colors. When you hover your mouse, you'll get to see how it looks before you choose it. Then further along you'll see Chart Styles, and you can choose any of these. However, if any of the preset styles don't meet your requirements, you can use the Format tab to manually change any part of your chart. For example, if I'd like to change this blue color, I click on my chart, making sure I'm only choosing the blue one. Then I can go to Shape Fill and choose a different color. In the same group of buttons, you'll find a drop-down with a load of preset styles, and even though these are preset, you might find one that suits your requirements. You can also double-click on top of a piece of your chart, and a new panel will open on the right. Depending on the kind of chart you've chosen, you'll see different options here. In my case, I can turn this into a pyramid or a cylinder. I've got 3 tabs to work with. I can change the fill color here to something like a gradient fill if I wish, choosing a preset gradient. I can choose a direction it comes from, and I can change the color, the position, and the transparency. I can change the thickness of the border and the color. And if I mess it up, as I have, I can just go back to automatic. You can also do things like apply a shadow, a glow, a soft edge, or a 3D format, again depending on the type of chart you've chosen. If you're having difficulty formatting the piece you really want to format, you can control where you're formatting via the Format tab. The first drop-down button you'll see gives you a list of all the parts available in your chart, and then when you click on that piece, you'll be exactly there in the right place. I happen to be on some text, so I can just use the Home tab to increase the size of the font if I wish. So as you can see, you can easily format your chart using preset styles or manually using the Format tab or double-clicking. In this tutorial, we've had a look at how to format a chart in an Excel spreadsheet. In this tutorial, we'll look at how to add elements to a chart in an Excel spreadsheet. When you click on a chart, you get two extra tabs, Design and Format. If you use any of the quick layout options from the Design tab, you may get all the elements you need. However, you can manually add or remove elements if you wish using the Add Chart Element button. Here you'll find a long list of elements you can work with. Any of the options that have been applied to the chart will be shown in colour. For instance, when I hover on axis, you can see that I have a primary and a vertical axis. I can turn it off. At the moment I'm just hovering, or I can turn it on again. Most of the buttons are toggle buttons. Axis title, I can add one to the horizontal and the vertical. I just need to type over them when I'm ready. The chart title, I've got one already above the chart. I could choose none or centered overlay. Data labels, you've got many choices here depending on the kind of chart you've created. For instance, you might like outside end, or you might like to try something interesting, like a data callout. The data table, you can have this with a legend key or without. I'll go for a legend key. You can show error bars if you need to. You might like to add extra grid lines. And you can decide where you'd like the legend. At the moment it's on the right. You can choose the top, the left, the bottom, the right, or none at all. And again, depending on the kind of chart you've created, you might have the option to work with lines, trend lines, or up and down bars. I can only have a go with trend lines. On the chart itself, over to the right, you'll see three little buttons. The top one, this little green plus, will also allow you to add or remove chart elements. If I hover my mouse, if there's any more options, you'll get an arrow pointing out to the side. I'm just going to remove my data table and put a legend back to the bottom. In this tutorial, we've had a look at how to add elements to a chart in an Excel spreadsheet. The best thing I suggest to do is just have a little experiment. You'll never know what you're going to learn. In this tutorial, we'll look at how to change the data range used in an existing chart in Excel. This means that you don't have to delete the chart and start again if you wish the chart to use different data or if you missed something out. I'm going to use a shortcut key to create a quick chart from this data here, Alt F1. This has created a simple column chart, but I didn't actually mean to create the chart for all of the data. I only wanted to go up to September. The easiest thing to do is manually stretch the area that's included in the chart. You can see a blue box around my data. If I get my mouse on top of the box, I can drag it to where I would like to have it. So I'm going to let go at September. Now I only have January to September, and I'll just bring it back out again. This was only possible because the data is in the same block and easy to move to. If it's not possible to do this, you can use the Select Data button on the Design tab. So I'll click Select Data, and here you can add entries, edit or remove them. I can deselect the months I don't wish to see and click OK. And now I'm back to September. I'll go back again and put them back. If I don't want to show something like the record high, I can just deselect. And now I'm only showing the average high and the average low. Now I'd like to add some data to this chart that's not even on the same sheet. I can go to Select Data, click Add, and now I need to go and find it. First of all, I need a series name. I'll go to my rainfall sheet. I'm going to add the rainfall for England. And the series values, I'm just going to delete what's in there already and pick up the figures. And click OK. And OK again. So now you can see I have the rainfall for England. So I'll just run through that again. Select Data, Add, I'll go to my rainfall sheet, this time I'll add Scotland, set the range, and click OK. Now you can see the border around the original table has been removed because Excel doesn't know which border to show me, because my data is across two sheets, the average temp sheet and the rainfall sheet. In this tutorial, we've looked at how to change the data range used in an existing chart in Excel. Welcome to a tutorial in which we will create a hierarchical tree map chart in Excel. This is a new feature in Excel 2016. A tree map chart makes it easy to spot patterns. Tree branches are represented by rectangles, and each sub-branch is shown as a smaller rectangle. It works best if your data is organized into a hierarchical order and with not many categories. The data I'm going to use has been sorted by location. So with your mouse inside the data, go to the Insert tab on the ribbon, then locate the Insert Hierarchy Chart button from the Charts group. Here you've got two choices, a tree map chart and a sunburst chart. You'll notice the first column, location, has been used as the key, so I have Brussels, London, Paris and Zurich. On the Design tab you can add chart elements. There's only 3 to choose from. A chart title, which I have already above the chart. I can take it away or have it centered overlay. I can remove the data labels. And I can decide where I'd like the legend. At the moment it's on the top. I could also move it to the right, the left or the bottom. The next button, Quick Layout, I'll hover my mouse over the icons and show you some quick layouts. You can change colours, and you can also apply a different chart style. The chart itself has 2 icons, a plus to add chart elements or remove them, and a formatting button to change the colours. If you double click on top of the chart itself, I happen to double click on the text and I've got 4 tabs: Fill and Line, Effects, Size and Properties, and Title Options. If I double click on one of the pieces of the chart, I get slightly different features. I can choose to have the heading as a banner, so now you can see Brussels, London, Zurich and Paris across the top. Overlapping's a bit hard to see, or none at all. I'll go to banner and then close the formatting pane. I'm just going to delete this chart now. Click on it and delete on your keyboard and change the order of my data. I'm going to take column D and put it in front of column A. Then I'm going to sort by that column and create another one to show you how different it looks. Insert Hierarchy Tree Map, and you can see it looks really different. And just before we finish, I'll change the chart type to a sunburst and see if you prefer that. In this tutorial, we've had a look at creating a hierarchical tree map in Excel. Welcome to a tutorial in which we will create sparklines in Excel based on a single row or column of data. There are 3 types of sparklines: line, column, and win-loss. Sparklines are contained within cells. They're great for quickly identifying trends in your data rather than having to study the figures. To create a sparkline, click into the cell where you want the sparkline displayed. Then from the Insert tab on the ribbon, locate the sparklines across to the right. I'm going to choose a line. A dialog box will open for you to tell Excel what data you'd like to use. I'll highlight the range for Africa. That's B3 to N3. Check you have the correct cell to place the sparkline and click OK. Now you can see I have a mini chart against my data. As this is a function, I can fill it down for the rest of the data. Now each line has an individual chart. If you look at the ribbon, you'll notice a whole new tab, the Design tab. I'll stretch up my columns so you can see them better. If you look at the sparklines, you can see a pattern. All of the figures are gradually increasing over the centuries, and for the first couple of centuries the data was quite static. You can change the data range used for your sparkline for the whole group or individually using the Edit Data button. I'll choose Edit Group Location and Data, and you can manually edit the range or you can re-highlight. I only want to go to L9 and click OK. Now my data is displayed only up to 2012. I could turn my sparklines from lines to columns, and I could change them to win-loss, in which you would clearly see any negative numbers. You can mark the high point if you like, and the low point. If you had any negative numbers, you could mark them. Highlight the first point, last point, or show all of the points. You can change the colour of the sparklines and markers using the options in the Styles group. If you would like to have individual colours for each sparkline, you need to ungroup them and then they'll be treated as individuals. On the Axis button, you can plot the data from right to left. I'll just highlight it all again. And now the chart has turned around. And you can do things like change the minimum value against the vertical axis and the vertical axis maximum. To delete the sparklines, highlight them and click on Clear. In this tutorial, we've had a look at creating sparklines in Excel.